And so I want to welcome you all. And so I have a couple of announcements. As you all may see, that I am not sharing my camera. And the reason for that is that my wife had shingles, so I decided I didn't want to get shingles. So I went to get a vaccine for shingles and it ended up getting chicken pox.
Oh, goodness.
And so I have been miserable for over a week now, starting to finally recover, but I could scare little children. I look so bad. So not sharing my camera with you. Related to that is that I really didn't have a lot of time to deal with getting a presentation today. So we don't have a presentation, but what we are going to do is to spend a little time. You're going to hear from Robert Alvarado in the work that we're doing on a potential grant here, EDA grant. And so we're going to take a little time to get some input from you. In addition to, we have a small team of people who is working on that grant. But since we have such a wealth of people with expertise, that we thought we'll just take some time instead of the presentation for that. I do have presentations tentatively scheduled for the next few weeks, but just not today. So anyway, that's just my tale of woe, and I'm sticking to it. So anyway, whoops, didn't want to do that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Can you all see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
All righty. So a number of things are usual. First of all, do we have any new people who are joining us today? I see some names of folks I'm not sure I know. So is there some people joining us for the first time today?
Yes, you have Keith Jones and Michael Furtado. We represent an organization by the name of Geoverse. You probably know us from our sister companies, ComNet and Choice Wireless. And we were invited on the call by our partner, Granite Telecom, to discuss how we're bridging the digital divide, utilizing private LTE. And I'm sure you heard about our deployment in Tucson.
Okay. So Keith, we'll want to hear more about you guys, and let's talk offline about having you guys do an update presentation. Just not going to happen today, but welcome. Thanks for joining us today.
Absolutely. Thank you for the invitation.
You bet. Anybody else that's new to us today? Okay. If not, let's move on. So again, reminder that the list of colleagues who are participating on the task force who have taken the time to fill out a Google form is available online on this website. And if you haven't taken the time to fill out that form, once more time, I'm going to ask you to please do that so that we have all your contact information. So I'd really appreciate it if you would do that. Next is our next meetings are the 20th, of course, is today, the 27th, October 4, 18, and 25. Of course, no meeting on October the 11th, which is Columbus Day. So there we have that. Want to remind you and invite you and encourage you to participate in our kibitzing with colleagues after this meeting. For those of you who have been with us before, that it's the kibitzing with colleagues has been a fun experience. We've had a number of people, I think, who have found it to be enjoyable and worthwhile. It is just an informal opportunity for people to share, to talk, and so forth. There's no agenda, no presentations, just communication, sharing, and so forth. So I encourage you all to participate. You can stay as long as you want. You can stay for 5 minutes, 20 minutes, however long we stay online. So again, encourage you to participate with us.
Hey, Steve, this is Jeff. I'm actually curious to do this one time just because I cannot imagine you and Mark Goldstein running something without an agenda and sort of a free flow thing. So for no other reason, I may have to tune in one of these to see this.
Yeah, it's been fun. And, you know, we have half a dozen people or so who join and just share, and we've had some good discussions. I'm sure that some of the folks who are on this call today can attest to that I think they found it to be a worthwhile experience. So there you have it. So let's see, what else? I have added to, I don't know if any of you actually go to the meeting webpage, but I have added the link to our statewide digital access strategy report, just so you'll remind, if you haven't seen that report or haven't seen it in a while, that you may want to revisit that, that task force report. Much of it is still relevant to today and so forth. So anyway, that's that. So I want to again thank our sponsors, Care First Health Plan, Valley of the Sun United Way, Satellite Broadcasting Communications Association, and Khajiit. And for those of you who are not sponsors yet and would like to be, please contact me and I'd be glad to share information on how you become a sponsor. We can always use additional funding and resources to keep the task force alive. Let's see, contact list, participant database, kibbutzing with colleagues. So let's just jump into, we have some updates that we've now added to, in addition to our briefings by our key updates. We have a number of projects that are underway. Some are ours, some are not, but are key projects. And so I want to start with updates of those projects. And you're going to hear from Robert, excuse me, from Robert Alvarado with, excuse me, a little challenge here, which counts per la causa in the grant they're working on. And I'm going to have him do a brief intro now, and then we're going to take some time later, instead of a presentation, to get input for him to share more details about what that grant may look like and to get input from you folks. So anyway, with that, so Kirk, I saw that, but I'm going to wait just a couple of minutes before we get to Jeff. So with that, Robert, do you want to do a quickie update and then we'll get into more detail later?
Yeah, thank you, Steve. So yes, I'll just give a quick update and then I'll dive more into details of what this grant particularly is and what it looks like. So just as far as a quick update, you know, a group has been meeting to try to get focused and make sure we're meeting the objectives of this grant that's out. So our biggest thing now is focusing on the areas that we want to concentrate on doing this grant. And then from there, we can dive into more detail as to the services that will be provided. There's two parts to this grant. The first one is a planning part of it. And so that's the first one. And then the second part of it is actually implementation. So the first grant actually is going to about 50 different groups. And then the second part is going to about 20, I think 20 to 30 groups out of that 50. So there is going to be a lot of competition. It'll be a tough one to get. But so far this week, we're really focusing on what it is that we're going to focus on, because this grant is due, this first planning piece is due on the 18th. So we have a lot of ideas of things that we can do. There's a lot of things that are needed out there. So we're pretty excited about that of the change that has to take place. But I'll dive into more detail later on after the meeting. But that's kind of where we're at right now.
Great, thanks, Robert. So I just want to say that it's very exciting to be working with Chicanos per la causa. They are an awesome. The more I learn about them and their work they're doing, it's just absolutely phenomenal. So it's great to be partnering with them. So you'll hear more about that later on. Henry, do you want to say anything? I know there's not much to tell you about the database task force meeting presentations, but do you want to say anything about that quickly?
Don't understand it.
Yeah, I mentioned that at the last couple of meetings. I don't know if it's worth going over again, Steve. Or,
okay. Okay. So Mala, do you have anything? I know Janet can't be here today. Mala, do you have anything more that you want to talk about in terms of telehealth and libraries?
Not really, because we haven't made too much progress. Peter County is going to do the first pilot.
Okay.
And the players are on well-deserved vacation right now. So we
Okay.
can make progress only when they come back. But I'm still in dialogue with the partners, NAU, U of A, and the Indian health system as well.
Cool. Okie doke. So moving on, Cindy, do you want to do a quickie update on the digital inclusion directory?
Sure. We are with the Connect Arizona website and the state library effort. We are adding now a digital inclusion directory. We are contacting people throughout the state, people and organizations throughout the state that are doing digital inclusion work, and trying to collect them all into one spot to, number one, use as a resource that we can refer people to, and also to start having dialogue between these organizations so that we all kind of understand what each other is doing and we're not duplicating efforts, and we're also able to share the things that are working for us with each other.
So we'll have some more discussion about wanting to do some kind of online events or activities where we can really, as Cindy was saying, to really share information. You know, we have such a wealth of resources in this task force. We probably have 50 or so digital inclusion organizations, many who have joined just within the last couple of months. And so we used to, when we first started the task force, we used to have everybody introduce themselves. And that was great when we had 15 or 20 people. But now that we're up at 40 and 50 and 60 people on this call, that's not feasible. And so we're going to try and find a way for people to share with each other more about who they are, what they're doing, and how people can collaborate. So we'll be talking some more about that in the future. But there's been, of course, we've been, from the day we started the task force, we've been interested in digital inclusion, but in recent times, there's been more and more interest in that. And it certainly has been evolving as we've had this discussion about this grant. So anyway, moving on. So Janet Major asked, and I will send this out, that there is a telehealth technology assessment center that is having a webinar this afternoon. Just got that notice this morning, and I'll send that out if you're interested in learning more about telemedicine. So I'll be sending that notice out fairly later this morning. And with that, let's just jump into our updates. Jeff, you want to kick it off, please?
Sure. Hey, Steve. Real quick, I'm on my way actually down to Nogales to the border today for some meetings. Talk a little bit about some of the things that are going on down there. I was in northern Arizona last week, met with the Navajo Nation leadership, President Nez, and several folks up there. They've got some really interesting stuff going on. One of the things we probably don't talk enough about here is just some of the great work that's being done on our tribal lands. For those of you who are familiar with the NTIA Tribal Infrastructure Grant, there was $1 billion, and Arizona was well represented. I believe we had 18 projects with, I want to say 15 or 16 tribes, all really exciting stuff. I got a chance to learn a little bit about it. I spoke at the tribal summit up there as well. So we got a really good handle on our tribes. So if you're running projects, you know, this could certainly be the project y'all are wanting with Chicanos por la Cosa, is to reach out to any tribes that are in the area. I was pleasantly surprised by the amount of engagement and will to get these things done. A lot of really good people, behind the technology initiatives with our tribes. Our state broadband grant, the dates are being pushed to first week of November. Hopefully everybody has heard that. If you haven't, you're hearing it now. Some of these things are out of my control, and unfortunately this is one of them. But we're very excited about the program, and we'll have a more detailed announcement about that coming up in October. But again, this is something and a date that y'all should be shooting for. We're really trying to compress the evaluation time frame, although we are building some things into the grant in terms of a 15-day, I wouldn't call it a challenge period, but it gives people the opportunity to review the grants and comment. Quite a bit going on, a lot of travel right now. Hopefully we can get it all in before this COVID Delta shuts everything down. I will say that the Navajo Nation is probably the most organized group I've been around in terms of COVID. Again, pleasantly surprised and very excited about some of the work we're doing with them. So that's all I really had today, Steve. Nothing groundbreaking.
So Jeff, do you have information that you're ready to share about the grants, even though there's no formal announcement yet, so that people can start thinking about it, thinking about what they might be applying for and so forth, or you're not ready to do that yet?
Yeah, Steve, we're just talking to some of the interested parties just to make sure we don't have any big red flags that are going to cause folks not to apply. So it is still very much a work in progress.
Okay.
If you and Mark would like to get on a call with me, I'd be happy to sit down with you and just kind of give you guys an overview of what we're doing or what we're planning on doing. It's a lot bigger than last time, as you can imagine,
Right.
and statewide. So there's still a lot of details to be hammered out. The folks that we've talked to thus far about it, very positive about the structure of the thing.
Okay. So that'd be a good idea for Mark and I to have a conversation with you.
Absolutely.
Certainly. Thank you, Jeff. We'll do that.
Okay. Anything else, Jeff, or questions for Jeff? If not, Mala, you want to give us a quickie?
Yes, starting off with E-rate, just wanted to let you know that a reminder that FCC has the draft eligible services list out, and September 27th is the due date for filing any comments and reply comments by October 12th. As many of you as can support cybersecurity, it would be great. We want to have that added to the eligible services list. And by that, what I mean is that it should be eligible for E-rate reimbursements. Right now, it's an out-of-pocket expense for the schools and libraries because we can't do without it. So if you have an organization and you want your voices heard, please mention that in the comments. And if you're an individual supporting the libraries and schools, please do that as well. We want as many comments there as possible so that they know that this is supported by everyone.
Mala, where do people submit those comments?
I'll give you the docket number. If you Google the docket number, you will get it. It's 13-184. It's WC docket number 13-184. I'll put it in the chat as soon as I finish talking, and it'll also be in the meeting notes.
Okay. And perhaps, Mala, that, and we've kind of discussed this a little bit previously, that maybe we need to think about what we can do here in Arizona in terms of cybersecurity, regardless of what the feds do, that perhaps we can work with our universities. And I know there's a number of the community colleges, including Pima, who are doing work in cybersecurity. So perhaps there's some things that we can all do together, regardless of what the feds do.
Right. I mean, the only thing that we would like them to do is to help monetarily, because I know we have the expertise.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't. It really would be a good idea to get us together and see where we go with this.
Okay.
This is Mark. Let me mention one thing in that regard. The original Tech Council Workforce Development Committee, some of you may know, Kathy Barton, formerly of Intel, Molly Castellano, that kind of evolved and went on steroids under the Greater Phoenix Chamber of Commerce's foundation as a cybersecurity focused workforce development group. I've been to some of their meetings, often 40, 50 people, and they bring out both the big employers and the educational institutions that are developing curriculum. So there is a nexus of educating a cybersecurity workforce there at the Greater Phoenix Chamber Foundation that we should look at and perhaps engage. Frank Grimmelman's involved in that, lots of other cyber luminaries. So just wanted to make sure you were aware of them if you weren't previously.
Thank you,
think-
Mark. We should share information and definitely reconnect.
I'm going to
with
look
them.
for the link now and post it.
Okay,
Did we have a presentation, Mark, from them? It kind of rings a
We
bell.
probably should look to schedule one. Sure, certainly.
Okay. Moving on with emergency broadband benefits program, we've had 178,400 plus households that have signed up so far. Arizona is still among the top 10 for the number of households that have signed up. And let's keep that momentum going. The very first month, May, the claims were about $69 million. The second, in June, it was $117 million. And in July, the claims were $160 million. We haven't yet got claims for August. And this is the support from the whole country towards EBB. So it's going strong. We're not, we've still got money, and I think it's going to be there for a while now. So let's keep promoting as much as we can to our Arizona households.
Hey, Mola, this is Jeff. I just want to say great job on that, and everybody who helped. I can't stress enough how unbelievably impressive it is that we're in the top 10. Quick story. I was at a meeting last week with my counterpart from Utah, several people from our governor's office and elected officials and others, and made a point to talk about that and the work that the state library did and others to get that up there. Let's just say for the first time ever, we beat Utah and we beat them soundly. So good stuff. Keep it up.
Thank you. And you know, it isn't a freak thing, and it didn't happen just one week. We're continually in the top 10 so far. So I think we are keeping it up, and we should continue to do whatever we are doing and do more if we can. Thank you for tooting our horn, Jeff. We rarely do that, and we don't get enough recognition for all the work that not me, but the whole state library does. So it's great. The Emergency Connectivity Fund, I just want to remind everyone, again, the second window opens on September 28th, closes on October 13th. Again, this is for schools and libraries, unlike EBB, which is for households. The schools and libraries can apply for devices as well as for internet connectivity hotspots. And there is about 2.9 million left of the 7.1 that was originally set aside for ECF. There's lots of rumors about this this being sustained and continued later and after the second wave. So let's keep our fingers crossed. Let's hope that passes legislation, because this is really, really important. As far as legislation goes, Senator Warnock of Georgia and Congressman McCain of Virginia both have put together a proposal for device access for every American Act. The act is called Device Access for Every American Act. And that is to help create a voucher program for low-income Americans to purchase connected devices like laptops and tablets, capping it off at $400 per device, permitting at least 2 low-income individuals per household to receive a voucher so families can have multiple devices. They're not dependent on their school device for the child and grabbing it when the child needs to do homework. It also requires FCC to establish minimum standards for connected devices, including refurbished devices. It encourages FCC to collaborate with retailers, with community-based organizations to participate in the program. It would be a really good sustainable program if it gets passed. NNDIA, the National Digital Inclusion Alliance, is supporting it. Shelby is also supporting it. Angela Seifer from NDIA says that about 40% of the people who aren't using the internet at home say it's because the device is too expensive for them, and they usually use only their smartphones to access the internet, which is really plausible. It is a statistical data that they have gathered. And I'll put the full report, link to the full report in my notes. FCC also, again, another reminder, I spoke about it last time. FCC has an open meeting scheduled for September 30th. And they are, one of the things on the agenda is promoting more resilient networks, shielding 911 calls from robocalls, defining what a library is. So even tribal libraries, kiosks in the malls are all eligible for support through the E-rate program. So it is an open program. The link, again, I'll put it in my notes. Please register, please attend if you can. So you will know what's going on in that area, as well as if you support any of the things that they are saying, be sure to make your voices heard. Adding to what Jeff said, the National Tribal Libraries Broadband Summit started last week. It is for 3 consecutive Fridays, every Friday from last week. So we had the first meeting last Friday. Second meeting is on the 24th, and the third one is on 1st October. This was very well attended. The very first one that I attended was there were more than 350 people, almost right through the day. It was a 5-hour program, webinar, and we had people, representations from the White House. We had representations from the Department of Commerce, IMLS director, NDIA, and a lot of other biggies all attended and spoke at the meeting. The agenda included implementation of tribal broadband connectivity grant. I'm not going to go into the details of each one of these, but I will put it in my notes so you can read it. They spoke about planning for long-term success in the tribal lands, technical solutions for middle mile and connectivity solutions. They spoke about broadband use and adoption, which is really, really key to everything. And libraries have been actively working in broadband adoption and use areas. So I think that if you do have the time, you can still register for the part 2 and part 3 of this. I would encourage you to do that. They're going to talk about the rights of way. They're going to talk about business planning for broadband networks. And measurements and tools in the next couple of days, the Fridays. So do try and attend if you can. If not, just register at least so that you can get access to the YouTube. They're going to put it up on YouTube. I think it will be protected access for some time. So if you register, you will get access to it. The last thing I think that I wanted to talk about is the fact that Shelby is working on USF contributions reforms.
Excuse me, Mama. Can you tell people who Shelby is?
Okay, Shelby is the Schools Health Libraries Broadband Coalition, and it's made up of service providers, organizations, as well as parties interested in any of these 3 areas: schools, health, and libraries. And they have over 300 members now that participate in various groups. There is an E-rate group, there's a policy group, there's a pole attachment group. There are different groups that meet, a mapping group. We meet once a week. Each group meets once a week, and the policy group meets once every other week. So there are lots of meetings, Shelby meetings, that keep happening. Shelby has got a group that's called US Forward, and that group is working on the USF contributions, the Universal Service Fund contributions. Currently, it is at, it's only the telecom service providers are contributing to it, and it's at 4%, I think, of their income, whereas now they are proposing in the US Forward to have broadband service providers as well join the program as well, so that they can bring the contributions down to less than 4%. It would be way less than 4% if the broadband service providers contribute as well. And this would help sustain not only E-rate, but the Rural Healthcare Program and other Universal Service Fund program going forward. So there's a lot of discussion on this. There is going to be a webinar on this on the 27th, on Monday, the 27th, from 12:30 to 1:30 Eastern time. I will put the link to register for that as well in my notes, and I will put the report and the analysis that has been done to get so far. I think that's all I have, unless you have questions for me.
Mala, I did post the link to the Shelby US Forward landing page where that and name that
Great.
report in the chat.
Thank you, Mark. You're always on top of it.
So I also want to suggest that anybody, if I'm not mistaken, Mala, can join Shelby. I think there's a fee to join, but anybody's welcome. And that way you get updates, you get notices of how webinars are sponsoring and other kinds of updates. So I would strongly encourage you all to go online to Shelby, and even if you don't join the organization, you can get updates and so forth. So I strongly encourage you to do it.
Right. And the newsletter too, newsletter and the links to the analysis that are being done on broadband in all these three areas, schools, health, and libraries areas, is very informative.
Yeah, they're very much on top of what's happening, particularly at the federal level. So, again, I strongly encourage you all to sign up for their newsletter.
And they influence too what's happening at the federal level, which is great.
Yes, they are a very influential group to be a part of. So with that, let's move on. I don't see, Sophia, are you online, or Mylan? Don't see either of them participating. Just FYI, on the 4th of October, Chris Richardson, who is the acting CIO with the Department of Ed, is going to be doing a presentation and giving us an update on the Department of Ed's strategic plan. So look forward to that in a couple of weeks.
Hey, Steve.
Yeah, John.
This is John. So a number of us have served on that Ed Tech Task Force over the last year. The group is being called back together today at 4 o'clock to get an initial presentation from Chris about where they're at. I know that Derek Masseth is part of that conversation, and there's a number of things going on there, but I want to circle back to the earlier conversation about cybersecurity, because I do want to endorse that we continue to focus on that piece of it, because that was one of the key recommendations from the task force, was that there be a focus on sort of a more systemic approach to cybersecurity to support schools. So it wasn't like individual school district and school responsibilities, that there be some general resource to be available. So I think that would be a really rich area to continue to look at.
Okay, sounds good, John. Thank you. Okay, anything else, Leah? I don't think you're online today. I haven't seen you. Are you there? And it doesn't look like Derek is here today. Okay, so I think we're done with any updates. Tracy, I don't know if you had anything more you wanted to add about EBB.
No, I don't have any other updates. Just really something that I put in the chat is just a reminder to our whole team that the way we approach making sure this news gets out, should be going to cell phones, right? Because that's the #1 way that people without computers are accessing that information. So just a reminder about that.
Okay. Okay, anything else? Any other updates that we need to know about? So just an announcement that on September 22nd, be lighting up the future virtual roundtable in partnership with school districts, Watts College of Public Service and Community Solutions and University Technology Office at ASU. They're going to be doing a roundtable and providing an update on the Maryville community project that they've been working on in Phoenix. They want to talk about what they've learned, how can they scale the success of this project and so forth. So that's on the 22nd. I will send that information out and encourage you all to participate. Okay. Any other announcements? Anything that anybody wants to share? If not, let's circle back to Robert. And Robert, I'm going to turn it over to you. I don't know if you want to share or not at this point, share a presentation. I don't know that you're ready to do that, but you're more than welcome to do so.
Yeah, no, thank you, Steve. Okay, so let me just start out just getting more detail about this grant, right? So this is an EDA grant, and this NOFO, what it's doing is it's focusing on what the pandemic has caused in our communities, right, and in the different regions, and so like I said, it's a two-phase NOFO. And the first one is basically developing that transformational is what they use. So whatever we do has got to be transformational economic development strategy. And then that second part is the implementation. And it's just helping, these communities recover from this devastation. And so what they're looking at as far as the end goal is that it'll create jobs, increase wages, and then it revitalizes these communities is what it's looking at doing. So this first part, when we look at it's actually the NOFO, it's small. It's about a 5-pager that we have to write up, and in certain sections we only can put in 250 to 500 words. So we need to put together basically that model. And like I said, it's got to focus on a target region is what they're looking at. So we figure if we can just focus on a target region and we get everybody together and we put this model in place, then we'll have something that is sustainable and that can be used throughout, the state of Arizona, and then move forward from there. They're looking at a spoke and hub approach. So right now we're basically looking at what is that hub? Where is that going to be, that location, or that general area of where we're going to do this, or that institution or the technology that we're going to use to do this. So we've been throwing around quite a few different ideas, and we're looking at telehealth as one of the possibilities, and creating jobs there and providing trainings. The group's been looking at different ways we can do this with, we talked about getting vans, doing different types of things, and other areas is small businesses. We've been talking, with Mall and them and looking at the public libraries as far as fiber that goes out to those library locations, and maybe utilizing that dark fiber to then help get internet out to those communities as we identify those communities that we're going to be working at, and if that is the need. So this first part of the grant, like I said, is the strategy, and that second part is the implementation. So we may be doing more surveys, more studies, and those things. Once we get this first part of the grant, that's where we'll be able to focus even more on the details and what is the need. So the nice thing about our group here is all the resources are here to help in all the different ways that we need to help the community and just move them forward. So that's kind of the background of the grant. And I don't know, Steve, Cindy, if there's anything else you want to add to any of those pieces that I may be missing, but those are kind of the things that it's requiring. You got to involve the education side of things. And so that's where Derek has been a key in that. And so we're looking at that as well, and bringing those contributors in as well. So right now we do have 2 grant writers here from our company, CPLC. So Sylvia Rebozo and Amanda Burnell, and they're awesome. Amanda, she's our vice president of our resource and development. She's amazing. And so they've been doing this for quite a while, and they've got a great approach. They ask the right questions, and they're really excited about this group. And the more and more we get together, the more and more excited they get about it. So right now it's just now putting pen to paper about those regions and the locations that we're going to be looking at. And then developing that overview, right? Because like I said, it's you know, in the NOFO, we can't really get into detail. It doesn't have that much room. It's got to be, you know, our basic model, what that's going to look like, how we're going to roll it out from there. So I don't know if there's any other questions on it.
So Robert, just a couple of quick things. You might just give people a quickie overview of CPLC.
Yeah.
You're just such a phenomenal organization. And this is an ideal organization to apply for this grant.
Great. Yeah, so just so you know about myself, because I'm sure there's a lot of new people, and I was offline working on a project for about 4 months. So I couldn't attend because we had Monday morning meetings at 7, because we're in multiple states, and we're in Texas, and so you know, they're a couple hours ahead of us, so we'd always start out early over there. But I'm the vice president of our IT department and strategic planning. So I've been with the company 18 years. When I first came to CPLC, there was no IT department. So I figured I was just going to come in, develop their infrastructure, and move on to the next thing. But man, I just was really impressed. Within 4 months, you know, a young lady was getting her first home, and she was a single mom with 3 kids. And she was just excited about how this opportunity now came to her. And, you know, she had job training, got a better job, and now can afford a house. And that touched me. And so I've been here, like I said, 18 years. And no day is boring over here. We're now in 5 states, California, mainly the LA County area right now, but we are working in the San Francisco area on some housing initiatives that we're looking at. We're also in Nevada. So we're in Carson City and in Las Vegas. We're throughout the entire state of Arizona, all the way from northern down to the border. Same with New Mexico. We have quite a few programs there, all the way from northern to southern New Mexico. And then in Texas, that's just one of our more recent endeavors that we've been doing. And so we're now in the Panhandle, which is the Lubbock area, Laredo, which is the Winter Garden area is what they call it because of the migration of the agriculture. And then we're also over in Houston and in the McAllen area. And so with that, we have about 64 different lines of business when you break down the things that we do. We do everything from for-profit to nonprofit. We have a lot of apartment complexes. So that feeds into our nonprofit area. We're about 55% self-sustained. We have a construction company. So we do a lot of our own construction. We do have a lot of housing. We do housing counseling, those types of things. We have a small business lending arm. And so that's been really successful, especially during this pandemic with the PPP loans. So when you get into our nonprofit, we have any sort of behavioral health you could think of, from domestic violence to SMI clinics, residential facilities, HIV programs. We have migrant ECD programs, Head Start programs, charter schools, workforce development. The list goes on and on. Our model is that model of self-sustainability. So maybe let's just say someone comes in for domestic violence services, and through there we'll give them behavioral health services. Usually they'll come with their kids as well, and so we'll also give their kids services as well. We'll give them job training. We'll teach them how to budget, so that maybe they get into their own rental of apartment, and then the goal is that they can afford their own house. And so that's that whole model of self-sustainability. We believe in a hand up, not a handout. We always say, if you're looking for that handout, that we're probably not the company for you. It's the hand up that we really push. So working in IT, I definitely know how many sites we have. We have about 156 because we have to visit all of them. So it keeps us pretty busy over here. Yeah, our company's growing. Our CEO is really doing a lot of great things, a lot of partnerships. That's been a lot of our success is partnering with other companies because, there's a lot of great companies out there that do things really, really well and better than us. And so we believe that if we partner with great organizations, it just leads to great things for the community. And that's our approach, right? And so it's nice working in IT because I get to see all that. I'm involved in a lot of the grants, as you can see. So I've gotten pretty familiar with the whole process thanks to Amanda and Sylvia. They've taught me a lot in that area. But that's a little bit our company. I could probably spend a lot more time talking about some of the other things we do, but yes, and that's the thing when Amanda and them, they saw this grant, and I've been talking to them about our group for quite a while because we meet every week, and I take a lot of our updates from this meeting and talk about the things that are being done here in the community, and they're pretty excited. So when this came along, they called me up. They're like, "Hey, would this work?" And I'm like, "Oh man, that would be awesome, right?" Because there's a lot of great partners here that are making a difference in the community. And I think with all of us partnering together, we could probably build a model that's just going to make Arizona a better place and our communities better. So I'm pretty excited about it. Looking forward to what's to come.
Great, Robert. Again, it's just phenomenal what you guys are doing. And of course, the task force is great, is a great way to partner with you. And of course, one of the many areas that we've discussed with the grant is digital inclusion, that's become a big issue. And so we're looking at how do we begin to do that? But certainly one of the strengths that we as a task force bring is that we have probably just in the task force alone, probably 50 or so different organizations who are involved in digital inclusion, certainly not the universe out there. And it's great to see that the state library and others are starting to work on this directory to identify others, but that's certainly one of the big resources and partnerships that the task force brings, is being able to bring together all these different groups and organizations. So we're really pleased to be a part of this project and working with you guys.
Thank you, Steve. I'm just glad I'm a part of this group, and I really appreciate you inviting me into it because it's just been great for me. It's been exciting to see what's going on, especially in I'm from Northern Arizona. I was born and raised in Flagstaff, so to see the things going on in Northern Arizona, especially what Jeff was talking about on the tribal areas, it's just good to see. So I really want to make sure that things are happening in the Northern Arizona region. Working here at CPLC, always try to get services up there. So that's one of my own personal things that I want to do. So, but thank you so much.
Sure. So a couple of quick things. Yeah, I'm sorry,
Steve,
go ahead.
Steve, just a quick comment on the work that has been done so far. I think we're way ahead of many other states in the fact that we already have a task force going for the last 1.5 years. So a lot of the players know each other, trust each other, and are willing to work with each other. And I think that is a big leg up for us. And also, like what Robert was saying, the areas we're focusing on is the economic development of areas that absolutely need it. We can identify the areas that need it because we've got data. We just need someone to sit down and put their heads down and analyze it. There's a lot of data available. And also, some of these programs, we've done pilots. For example, the Navigator program it's been touted around the country that navigators are important in whatever area, whether it's telehealth or economic development or anything. Navigating the internet to get the right information and authentic information is so important. And that's what libraries excel in. And that's what we started doing as soon as the pandemic hit. And we've got now almost a year's worth of data on the success of that program. So building on it is something that we can do. And the fact that we have done the pilot and we have information goes towards our credibility, I think. So I'm confident that if we apply and put it together, which I think Robert's team is doing a great job of. We should be able to get the planning grant and then hopefully the implementation grant as well.
So a couple of quick things. One is that right now we have a small working team because we needed to stay focused and trying to really map out where we're going with this grant. But as we move ahead, that we're going to be looking at other partners and collaborators and so forth. And so you're going to, as we get to that point, you're going to hear more about how you might be able to be engaged. But having said that, if you have any thoughts about some areas, either localities we should focus on or topics that we should focus on, again, send it to me or to Robert or to Mala or any of the folks who are participating on the team, and we'll take that into consideration. So the intent is not to exclude, again, we have such a wealth of people who are part of this task force. It's not the intent to exclude people. We just don't want to get too big so that we don't get anything done, because we have a fairly short window to get the first phase of this grant done. So just wanted to mention that. So anything else, Robert, Mala, you guys want to add anything more to that discussion?
Oh, that's great. And Mala, thank you so much. Yeah, and you know, we do have an evaluation team. That's another thing under is evaluation. And so tomorrow we are meeting to go over some of the data. So if you do have any data that we can look at and start putting together, our evaluation team is going to start looking at what they can do to start identifying some of those areas and really looking at the data. So if you know, I know Lev, once we meet, we'll probably have to circle back with him. But yes, so Mala, we'll be meeting tomorrow on that, or with our evaluation team to just start going through that. So.
Robert, isn't the meeting this afternoon at 4, as I understood it, or?
Yes. Yeah, but the one with our evaluation team to start looking at the data, we're going to meet with them to just start going through it so they can get.
Oh, you're having another team look at some other data.
The
data, yeah, just to start putting it together and cleaning it up and looking at it as far as areas that we could focus on, and then bring it back to the group. So then they have just an evaluation of that data. So.
And so I also want to just remind people that the EDA grant is an economic development grant. So the focus is not just on providing connectivity and dealing with digital equity or digital inclusion, but how does digital inclusion and how does connectivity particularly support economic development, telehealth, and so forth. So it's important, which is really exciting because a lot of the time, since the task force has been in existence, we focused a lot on the education space and libraries, but this really takes a whole new dimension for us in terms of focusing on economic development.
Okay. Hi, Steve. This is Cindy Ziegler. Sorry, I don't know if Cindy's on the call, but just to expand on what you were saying about economic development, it's even more specific than that. It's focused on job creation. So we got some really good feedback on an application that we submitted for a rural community, and we couldn't meet the level of I guess, specificity for job creation, because they're really looking at like a model of, you know, some kind of formal model and study to create jobs.
Yeah. Good point, Karen. And yes, I think we're aware of that. And certainly you're trying to figure out where does economic development fit into this, and how does the connectivity and other resources help to support that. But you're absolutely correct that it's really important that we be focused on job creation.
Good morning. This is Joy Whiting. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Cindy. I'm listening.
Oh, thank you. You know, to your point, I know that I've pitched our resource page before, eda.gov/ARPA. We just did a really great webinar. It's only 35 minutes long. It's not an overview of the BBB. It is actually, it walks you through the entire application, and they talk through exactly what type of response they're looking for in each question. And you're absolutely right. The emphasis is really on building or rebuilding a regional economic cluster. And then phase 2 is really about the projects that would support that. So that economic cluster is critical to identify, and then, plugging projects into that cluster approach.
Who is speaking?
Joy Whiting.
Oh, Joy. So you're saying the emphasis on building the economic cluster in the region is critical. Okay.
Joy, is that
That was Cindy.
webinar available? Do you have a recording?
This is actually Cindy.
Oh, I'm sorry, Cindy. Right.
That's okay. So yeah, I'm from the EDA, and so if you go to eda.gov/ARPA, click on the Build Back Better icon at the bottom of the page, and then that'll take you to the resource page for the Build Back Better Regional Challenge. And then there are 2 webinars, one of which is dedicated exclusively to walk you through the application itself, question by question. It's about 35 minutes long. I'd highly recommend it.
And I believe, wasn't that Cindy Patak with EDA?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Thank you, Cindy.
I interrupted Joyce. I'm so sorry.
No, that's okay. I couldn't connect on my Zoom call. I don't have good connectivity in my house. I'm home now, but I have a lot of background noise too because I have some children in the house. But I was just going to say, I really appreciated Cindy's help. Apache County is working hard to do exactly what Karen was saying, is trying to find that connection to job creation. So we're trying to connect the dots. So I was just telling Cindy, thank you.
Yep, and thank you, Cindy. I didn't mean to speak for EDA, but just from our experience.
No, I understand. You're right on point. That's why I suggested the webinar, because that's the lens in which we view the world. So it's really important that you any project speak to those things. I appreciate actually bringing that up.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate that. So we'll definitely take a look at that. Make sure we focus on that.
Okay. Any other thoughts or input for Robert before we end for today? Anything else? Any other announcements that people have? If not, I'm going to end the call. And again, if you're interested and want to hang on to kibitz with us, you're welcome to do that. Again, there's no agenda, no presentations, just people sharing information and getting acquainted and so forth. So if you're interested and available, please join us.
Steve, this is Lindsay again. I know that we mentioned this last week, the week before, but we still have the HIT Symposium scheduled for this Thursday. It's going to be a hybrid event. I can post the link in the chat. So if anybody wants to register, you're more than welcome to do it. I know that Janet is not here, but T will be there. Dr. Krupinski from U of A will be there, and Jeff will be there too as part of the panel discussion.
Lindsay, you want to tell people who you are?
Sorry, my name is Lindsay Beats, and I'm the Director of Program Services for Arizona Alliance of Community Health Centers. I have been managing the grant for the Health Center Control Network, which is the HIT, leveraging HIT health information technology tools, including the telemedicine and telehealth portion with the community health centers. And this is our 5th year grant. We focus on cybersecurity as well. And I'm a newbie to the group.
Okay, great. Well, thanks, Lindsay. Glad you are joining us today. Okay, if there's nothing else, I'm going to stop recording, and I'm going to, we're going to stay online. Anybody who wants to kibitz, you're welcome to do that. If you got to go, you got to go. So thank you all. We'll see you next week.
Thanks all.